My name is Harvey Warrner. I was a teacher and principal at Beech Grove High School until my retirement. Today I'm representing the Beech Grove Alumni Association, and we have the Teacher of the Year for the year 2013, Mr. Jimmie Johnson.
How you doing?
Congratulations, Jimmy.
Thank you.
It is a well-deserved honor. And we're going to spend about 15 minutes here talking about your life and your career and the impact you've had on many, many students. You have kind of a double honor because I personally know where you went to high school. So let's talk about high school just a little bit. Tell me about your high school.
I graduated from Beech Grove High School. I went through all 12 grades here in the city of Beech Grove school systems. Went to Central Elementary, middle school, and at the time I was in the middle school, this building hadn't finished being built, so we, the years I was at the middle school, we went, high school went from 7 to noon, and then the middle school went from noon to 5, so we utilized the same building, just AM and PM. So that was a little adjustment from the normal schedule, but we were, my class was one of the first classes to move into this new building, which it looks a little different than what it does now. We've had several remodels in the last 40 years, so I've seen a lot of change from when I was in school. But I graduated, I was, I think, 26th in my class out of 156, so not the top student, but fairly good. I was fairly active in school with a lot of different activities. I tried some athletics as a freshman, wrestling and football. Not quite as well as I would have liked them to be. So as a sophomore, I was manager of football, basketball, and baseball. My brother, he was a member of the first sectional basketball teams. He graduated the year before I did in 1967. He was the Marion County Athlete of the Year for that year, 3-sport letter. And so I kind of had a lot to live up to him, but wanted to be kind of in his shadow a little bit, so I helped out with the teams he was on. And one fact that not too many people know is my junior year, because they did win the sectional the year before, they wanted a couple guys to be cheerleaders, and being the spirited person that I am, I applied for that, and I was one of the two guys chosen for that. And I really enjoyed doing that, and being spirited and really following all the teams. I do wonder, I have seen over the years a little decline in school spirit. I know that there's a lot of things for kids to get into now, and I'm a little saddened that not so many kids are as spirited as what we used to be when we were in school. I do get a little fired up when I see some of the kids that have started a pep club, and Mr. Daniels started I think it's the Buzz Club, not the Buzz Club, but the Hive, and that was to perpetuate school spirit. And so we are kind of coming around, I think, on it. And as teams do better, I know that will, it's kind of like the Pacers, go Pacers, winning last night, and they, I think, are having a little better following than they did a year or two ago. So. But I graduated in '68. I remember walking across the stage, and it's typically like they do now. The school board members are shaking your hand, and I remember Carl Kavanaugh, one of our former school board members, and he shook my hand and he said, "Jimmy, what's the school going to do now without you?" And then 5 years later, I was back here and been here for the last 40 years. So, still enjoy doing what I'm doing.
Well, I know that you are very fond members of the school, and you were very active in the school. And so you graduated in the top 20% of your class, and then it was off to Indiana State to be an industrial arts teacher. What led you to that decision?
I had some good role models. Dave Topping, the football coach, Mr. Price. He was assistant coaches, and both of those two guys were industrial tech teachers, and I had a strong background in drafting. Tommy Thompson, one of our former principals, was an industrial arts teacher also. And I just think that what I learned in those classes, and because I was so knowledgeable in that, I wanted to continue influencing kids in that subject area. So Indiana State was one of the top schools at the time in that field, and I received two degrees, a bachelor and master's degree from there. So,
well, I know that at that time, industrial arts teachers did a whole lot, and were called on to do a whole lot. And but when you got out of college, your first job wasn't at Beech Grove. You started in another system.
I did my student teaching at Mooresville High School the last year of my senior year in college, and I taught graphic arts there, and have a strong graphic arts printing background and drafting. And they had me as a trainer there, and helped with the football teams and the basketball teams. And again, they liked what I was doing, so they just said, "You got a job for next fall." And then I was there for 1 year, and I spoke of Mr. Thompson. He called me after I was there a year, like 2 weeks before school started here in '73, fall of '73, and he said, "Well, we're opening up a new wing, and I'd like for you to set it up, all new equipment." And so I jumped at the chance to come back to Beech Grove, and been here for 40 years. So.
Well, what a compliment that Mr. Thompson approached you like that. I know from my experience here what a quality teacher you are. I know the kind of school spirit you have. I also know all the ways that you've helped teachers throughout the years that you've been here, and finally the variety of classes that you've taught. But your subject area has probably changed more than any other subject area in the last 40 years. You talk about 4 decades. Can you tell us briefly about some of those changes from when you started to where you're at right now?
Well, 40 years ago, like I said, when we started the new wing, we had 7 different areas. We had plastics and wood shop in one room. We had electricity, electronics, graphic arts in another room. We had drafting, board drafting, and then we had metals and small engines. So 40 years ago, we were trained in all those, and we could teach any of that, and we have, as you have, taught basically all of those. And it has changed from what I call a dirty lab to more of a clean lab where it's progressed to mostly computers. The board work in drafting is mainly done on computers now, and a lot of the other things have developed into what I would kind of phrase as more scientific lab type curriculum where it's driven by an e-book and science experiments or activities that are done with small boards or whatever. So it's not the old birdhouse, wood shop, and electronics and printing and small engines like it used to be. So,
well, I know that you are well respected by the students here, and I know that you have a really individual motivation. You sometimes have some pretty challenging young people, and you react to them positively, and you give them a chance to grow. And I know that it's something you've done a lot of the last 5 or 6 years. Is you also, a lot of people don't know that you're the yearbook sponsor and the newspaper sponsor, and that takes a lot of time on your part too. Another thing that a lot of people don't know, and Mr. Johnson's talked about the technology, but the yearbook is film-free. It's all done on digital camera, loaded on computers, and you actually send it to the printer.
Yeah, we have a digital printer and the whole deal. Our yearbook is done online. We have software in-house that's very similar, so the kids learn on that, and then we get online and upload photos and do all the page layouts online, and they can work from home for homework or whatever spare time. A lot of our kids are active in so many things, so if they don't get it done in the class time, then they can work that extra time at home. The newspaper, again, is all digital, no film. Used to have a dark room. We've gone away from that now. It's all digital. We can tweak the pictures in Photoshop, crop them the way we want, take out the background, a whole lot of different things that we teach the kids to do, and we can make basically anybody look good. So, so it has been a changing curriculum in journalism, and we've tried to keep up with that change. So.
Well, I also very much respect you for the time you devote to students and your school outside of the school day. When I think of all the floats that you build, all the class sponsorship you've done, in recent memory, if you've gone to a sporting event or an activity at the school, you've probably seen Mr. Johnson there with his camera because he helps take some of the photos for the yearbook. But I also know that you've been involved in a couple of clubs and activities that have really made a difference for the school. So can you tell me about what I would call the HAD Club?
HAD was established several years ago, Hornets Against Destructive Decisions. It hasn't been real active in the last year or two because there's basically so many other clubs and teachers busy with so many things. But we try to observe Red Ribbon Week in October and that, and try to do some things for prom and homecoming and that. But I've sponsored other things like chess club, and we haven't had a chess club in a while, but I had done that several years ago, and just a lot of after-school time with kids, and you know, anybody that needs a computer, they seem to find my room. So,
well, I know students tell me about your humor, about your good-natured approach to them, about your expertise in so many different areas. And let's get a little bit personal here. Tell me about your family at home.
I've been married to my high school sweetheart. She graduated the year after I did in 1969. Her maiden name was Jody Goodman. And we, like I said, we dated through high school, and we got married right before I started teaching. So we kind of went together through college and all that. But got married. We delayed starting our family so we could enjoy some things before we got restricted by children and finances and things. So, but we started our family in 1976. Our firstborn daughter, and then followed that with a couple of sons. Our kids are about 18 months apart, so fairly quick together. So, but they're now in their 30s and they've got their own kids. I have 7 grandchildren. We try to spend a lot of family time together. Just this past weekend, we did some fishing. Our compound has about 6 acres and about an acre of water. So, but they all live right there close to us, and you know, come over to the general store and borrow food and stuff like that. But we're real close, and family is the whole thing. So.
Well, I know how important your family is to you. Well, Mr. Johnson, I think about Henry Adams saying that a teacher affects eternity. He never knows where his influence is going to stop. And I think over the last 40 years at Beech Grove High School, you have indeed affected eternity. In fact, you've probably seen some parents that now have children that have gone through your program, and I bump into kids at IUPUI that were in your yearbook class, and I just bump into people and they say, "How's Mr. Johnson doing? He was a wild and crazy guy when I was at Beech Grove High School." But most importantly, you are an outstanding teacher, and this recognition is richly deserved. Mr. Jimmie Johnson is the Beech Grove High School Alumni Association Teacher of the Year for the year 2013.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we have, I remember back a lot of teachers I have. I mean, Robert A. Johnson, Mr. Thompson, a former principal that was a teacher, and Hayes Fairchild, all those I had in class, and even some that I didn't have in class that I had the privilege of working with. And it is, to me, this is probably more of an honor. I think Mrs. Zimmerman said something about I could qualify for the Alumni of the Year or the Teacher of the Year, since I'm actually both. But I think of all the good teachers we have had here at Beech Grove, not just the ones I've had, but I've had a privilege to working with, Mr. Scott Bradford, yourself, Donna Joyce, you know, just a lot that we still have in-house now, and a lot of these new teachers. I just hope with changes that have come down from the state as far as requirements and salaries and things, I hope we continue to keep getting good teachers here, and that's my main concern. Is I want Beech Grove to continue to be a school of excellence. So.
Well, it's teachers like you that make this a great place to be for kids. We'll be back in a moment with our second guest this evening. Thank you, Jimmie.
Thank you.
Welcome back. My name is Harvey Warrner, retired principal of Beech Grove High School, and I'm here representing the Beech Grove High School Alumni Association, and I have a special guest with me today. I'd like to welcome Ron Green, who is the 2013 Alumnus of the Year for Beech Grove High School.
Thank you. It's quite an honor.
I tell you, it's a richly deserved honor. A lot of respect for you, and I've followed you at the high school, through college, your professional career and what a positive role model you are professionally and personally.
Thank you.
Let's talk about you here a little bit. Tell me about coming to Beech Grove High School.
I went to Holy Name grade school and then switched over to the Beech Grove High School, and just had a blast. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Met so many friends, and everybody says you have great memories from high school, and I certainly do.
Well, those years kind of blend together, so give us some years you were at the high school, just for the viewing public out there.
I graduated in '83, so I started my freshman year in the fall of '79.
Well, during that time, that's when I came to Beech Grove, and I know you were one of the first students that came up to me and welcomed me, and I was coaching at that time, and you talked to me about the events you were going to run, and that really made me feel at ease that a student would come up and talk to me like that. But tell me about the high school events that you were involved with.
Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed my high school years. I had a good core group of friends, and we all had great parents that were very supportive and allowed us to do as much as we wanted or as little as we wanted in high school, which was really important to have that good core parent group. But I ran cross country, I ran track all 4 years. I was a swimmer all 4 years. Became involved in the high school newspaper and was the sports editor my senior year. French club, National Honor Society. They're just very active. I'm also proud to say that I was a core group of fans who, I think our senior year, we won the Indiana State Spirit Award. We were the most spirited high school sports venue, and I was part of that, so I've always been proud of that as well.
Well, you had a great 4 years here, I know. Graduation, and you were involved in athletics. You were involved with the newspaper. I know you were a Superior student too. You took a lot of courses that prepared you well. But what was the next step after Beech Grove High School?
Well, I went on to Ball State University. I was the first person from both sides of my family to go off to school, so I was really intimidated about moving on to college. But I had such good support from, again, my parents, but also the teachers here at Beech Grove High School. They really prepared. Once I decided I was going off to college, they really helped me and prepared me quite well for school, and stayed in touch with several of them through those 4 years, and that helped as well. But again, I went to Ball State University. I majored in journalism. My Beech Leaf, the newspaper advisor, the 2 years I worked on the paper, was Mrs. Spencer, Arlene Spencer. And I can remember early in my senior year, she said, "You'd be really good in public relations." Well, I had no idea at that time what public relations was. Since then, I've learned I guess it is something that suited me well. I guess she thought I'd be good at that because I was good at telling stories, or maybe getting out of trouble by telling a story or something like that. But I focused in public relations in college, and ended up majoring in that.
Well, you touched on something there that I think our students right now need to hear a little bit more again. You were the first of your generation to go to college, and you found that a little bit intimidating, but yet you did that, and you were very successful at that. So maybe expand on that just a little bit, how you felt and how you made that happen.
Again, I was the first one from either side of my family at that time to go off to school, so I couldn't really necessarily turn to any family member to share experiences or what I was going through. But again, had a good core group of friends that were going through the same experiences as I was. But also, again, the teachers here, they came very close with several of them, including yourself. You were integral in my getting involved in different things at Ball State. My first job in college was at CBX bookstore, and Mr. Stitt hired me, I think, because of a recommendation you may have given me. So again, the rapport that I had with the teachers here at the high school sort of helped with that comfort level of transitioning into college.
Yeah. And then, Ball State journalism, that's one of the very strong areas at Ball State, and still is a strong area up there. Well, so now you've been successful at Beech Grove, you've been successful at Ball State. What was next for Ron Green?
Well, what got me through college, again, because I wasn't the strongest of students. I was a good student, per se, but I wasn't a strong student. But what got me through college was focusing in on something that I really enjoyed, and that was journalism and public relations. And once I really focused in on those two areas, It helped me get through school. And then what really got me through school was deciding I wanted to work in motorsports. Being from Indianapolis, I had family members from both sides of my family involved in automobile racing, so I was a big fan and realized that with a journalism degree or a public relations degree, there were career opportunities in motorsports. So early in my senior year, I started looking at possible jobs, and I was really fortunate. Right after the holidays, right after Christmas, my senior year, I landed a job with a weekly newspaper at that time called National Speed Sport News, and I worked there for a year right out of college. Moved to Ridgewood, New Jersey, where the paper was based, and that really, I would say, launched my motorsports career, because that paper was called the Bible of automobile racing, and the editor was very famous, was well known in all the worldwide in automobile circles. So that really helped, looked definitely good on my resume when I went to go for other jobs in automobile racing, that I had that on my resume.
Well, I tell you, I know you've been in a wide variety of locations in this country and done have a wide variety of jobs, and I think the viewing public can see the difference between an old retired principal and a public relations man. You're really doing a nice job of the interview, and I'll try to hold up my end of it here. But tell me about some of and you told us New Jersey. I know you've lived in other parts of the country and had other positions. Briefly tell us about some of those kinds of things.
Well, I've been very fortunate. My career has allowed me to do things that I never imagined I'd be able to do, growing up in Beech Grove. I've traveled around the world to various motorsports events through my job, and again, like you said, I've lived other places. Right out of school, I lived in Ridgewood, New Jersey, which is right outside of Manhattan. It's actually a beautiful area. New Jersey gets a bad rap for parts of it, but this area of New Jersey was beautiful, and again, I was living right outside of Manhattan, and my job allowed me to go into the city at least once a week, which was pretty exciting for a wide-eyed young kid out of Beech Grove, Indiana. Moved back to Indianapolis. I worked in politics for a while, and then was fortunate to take a job, a director of public relations position in Charlotte, North Carolina. And my wife and I got to live in the Carolinas for 3 years and thoroughly enjoyed that. It's a beautiful part of the country. And then we moved back here to really have a dream job at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I can really say it was a dream job, because in college, like I mentioned, I had to find something to motivate me to get through school and working in racing. I used to tell my college buddies, I'm going to work at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway one of these days. And to have a dream at that young age and actually achieve it was pretty exciting, fulfilling.
I always, especially in May when you'd be on the TV talking about an aspect of the IMS, I tell my kids, hey, I had him in class. So I know you're doing some different things right now. What are you doing right now?
I started my own company last fall, and I'm trying to build a company in public relations and media relations, learning the challenges of doing that. For 25 years, I have promoted other things and other people. Now, as a business owner, I have to promote myself, and I'm a little more comfortable promoting somebody else than myself. So that's a challenge of the business, but it's exciting as well, and very rewarding.
Well, I know you were involved. You liked fishing when you were here. I don't know.
Still do.
Still fish, but I know there's a family involved here too. And tell me a little about your family.
Sure. Well, I met my wife here in high school. Just like Mr. Johnson, I married my high school sweetheart. At that time, her name was Paige Bates, and obviously it's Paige Green now. And we dated all through high school. We met our freshman year. I was a cross-country runner, and she was a volleyball player, and our schedule sort of matched up after school. And she went on to go to DePaul University in Greencastle, and I went off to Ball State, but we survived a long-distance relationship there. And we just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary this past March. And then we were fortunate enough to have a beautiful young daughter who just turned 9 a couple of weeks ago. Her name's Laura. So
congratulations.
Great family. Thank you.
I know Paige was an excellent teacher. She graduated and just was an excellent teacher. And Paige is 9 years old.
Laura is 9.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Laura's 9. Yeah.
Hey, Tell me, you know, a guy like you that have had all those different steps in your life and basically been very successful each one of those, what do you say to somebody that's here for 4 years as a freshman through senior? What kind of advice would you give to that student about their 4 years at Beech Grove High School that pass so very, very quickly?
Your high school experience, at least for me, and I think it's really the case, is it allowed me an opportunity to flourish. I was a very shy youngster at times, intimidated in situations, and once I became involved in activities in high school, it again allowed me to flourish, and that was because of the support I got from, again, not only my parents, but the staff and faculty here at the high school. And I would recommend any student or any young kid to take full advantage of everything that's offered in high school. Get involved in sports, clubs. It really pays off as you transition in college.
Well, Ron Green, it's an honor for me to sit here with you and remember some of the good times that we had. And I've followed your career for the last 30 or 35 years, and you've just done an excellent job. And it's my pleasure to announce that you are the 2013 Beech Grove High School Alumni Association Alumnus of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.